Welcome to a week hiatus edition, solo edition. It has been a long time coming. We were so defeated after the playoffs last Wednesday. I went to game 7, got last minute tickets. We were so defeated. We when you guys needed us the most, I blew it and we didn't come on. But I did make an appearance today with Renee and Jamie Lynch on the PHLY podcast, and we did some end of season grades. So it was nice to get a little closure and relief there. And really why we started this podcast week in, week out was for the birds. So we are back to nothing but birds. I do think, before I get into nothing but birds 24/7, I do think that the Harden trade was great. Brought in the type of bench pieces. Nick Nurse is going to rotate a ton of guys. And I think it made a whole lot of sense. So that situation is situated as well. So I'm going to run through probably, please fire away in the comments. I am going to run through this week. Obviously, it's freaking Dallas week. It is Dallas week. And I'm going to run through that, of course. But before I get to that, I am going to talk Dolphins game, Commanders game, and then we'll get into Dallas week. How does that sound? That is the rundown. The Eagles have the best record in all of football right now, which could completely change if you don't beat Dallas this week. And 1/3 of the league, now 9, almost over 10 teams are starting backup quarterbacks this week. My brother in Creed, Kirk Cousins, is no more. So, anywho, I'm going to talk a little bit about our Eagles Dolphins experience. We went to the Philly Sports Trips tailgate, and it's at Philly Live Casino. It was awesome, and it was probably top 10 craziest, top 10 most lit I've ever been at an Eagles game. We were jumping up and down. Our one boy, we called him Timu Nick Castellanos. He was dancing. It was insanity. The last home game, it was absolutely crazy. So if you haven't seen the video of the guy dancing over on our Instagram, check that out. It was going bananas. And totally changed the outlook on this Eagles season, even though the Commanders game was close. The last 2 wins have propelled us by far in every single ranking, television ranking, ESPN, what have you, number 1 in the power rankings. A lot of that is ranked by record. There's nobody with a better record than us, so that constitutes the number 1 team, but also the eye test, man. Like I said, ton of backup quarterbacks in, and we've got our guy. Without Jalen Hurts, you don't win that game this week against the Commanders, that's for sure. But we were singing Sean Desai's praises after the Dolphins game and holding that team down. And then for whatever reason, the Commanders play us really, really tough. But having said that, I think we're 5-1 in the last 6 against them. So who knows? Who knows? Um, but it's almost great that we took a week off because comparing the two games, Sean Desai shuts down Tyreek Hill and the fastest offense in the NFL. Granted, we were home and it was nighttime and the place was crazy. And there's different flows, there's different pacings. People call it playing down or playing up to the level of competition. I think people just have a different style of play. And certain teams that aren't as good, like the Jets, they tend to muck the game up. These guys, they mirror each other's intensity. So I will say that. They mirror the intensity. That's why you get shootouts in the NFL. This team scores, other team has to score, then the other team has to score, and that just is the flow and the pacing of the game. These guys are all professionals, so I think that's really what it was. Nighttime intensity, different flow, 1:00 game. Either way, Eagles fans were in full force down in DC this week. Love to see it. I am actually missing the Dallas game this week, but my brother will be taking my nephew, which is going to be his first Eagles game, I believe. So they will be there. And we're going to be posting some collaborations with Feeding Time TV and Maniac Malloy. So don't miss game day with us. I'm going to be in Florida, down in Sarasota. Going to go watch the game at Rafferty's, which has a ton of Eagles fans. So my brother will be at Eagles Dallas live, and I will be down in Florida at a Philly bar. So don't miss it this week, this game day. And if the Eagles can, it's going to be a tough game. If the Eagles can win again and get to 8-1, they'll be up. I don't know. Dallas will have 3 losses. The Eagles will have only 1. Niners have lost 3 straight, even though they got Chase Young. That's a big feat. And we saw when the Niners lost the 1 week, we went right back and lost again against the lowly Jets. So I hope, there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there, I hope this is not the refs trying to keep it close, trying to keep the division tight. I wouldn't be surprised, though. The Eagles are kind of in the driver's seat right now. I hope they come to play this week against Dallas. Dallas needs this game more than we do. I will put that out there right now. And that's all I will say about that. But I think regardless of whether the Eagles win or lose the game this week, the Eagles are still the better team. And we're going to go into the bye and we're going to get another shot. And we will be down there in December against Dallas. And that game will matter more than this week. Because we have a gauntlet schedule. Cowboys and the Chiefs and the Bills and the Niners, and you guys all know it. We may win a couple, we may lose a couple. Dallas is going to win some games. It's going to not come down to this week. It's going to come down to about a month from now to lock up the division, regardless of what happens this week. Huge game. Huge game. You can really, really put yourself. But I don't see teams usually this time. I could be wrong. Could be wrong. I'm usually a homer, but you saw it when we lost to the Jets. We had an opportunity to jump and pull away from all the teams. Everybody else lost. And what did we do? We went and lost. Game. I'm not saying the Eagles are going to lose this week to Dallas. I think it's anyone's game. 50-50. We're home. The edge is to Philly. The edge is for the Eagles. But it's really hard for me to think we're going to get... Really? We're going to live that charmed a life after the... Just being a Philly sports fan in general... Has the Phillies have humbled me. The Sixers, year after year, second round exits have humbled me. Are we really going to... Are we really going to be 2-3 games up on Dallas. Like if we beat them this week and then have our bye week and they lose again while we're not even playing, like are we really going to jump that much ahead 2-3 games on this team this early in the year? That would be outstanding. We have a -3 turnover differential, and Oscar says we can't turn the ball over. We have to get turnovers on defense. It will come back to bite us, Oscar. I agree. If we turn the ball over, it will come back to bite us in the butt. We're 7-1 and have a minus turnover differential. Usually, when you turn the ball over and the other team gets, especially when they get points, field goals, touchdowns, 3, 7, 10 points off a turnover, you lose games. We've had 2 games where we've lost the turnover battle and we've still won. We beat Miami and we turned the ball over. We beat the Commanders and we turned the ball over twice. I agree, Oscar. We need to nip it in the bud. We need to get positive plus in the turnover differential and the point differential. Although it's a little skewed, Dallas, I think that first week of the year they won like 40-0, but Dallas says is a bigger point differential than we do too. Run the damn ball. What's up, Jonathan? Just me today. So the turnover differential and points, like you play fantasy football, the amount of points you score versus the amount of points you give up. We gave up way too many points. It's like run differential in baseball. The Arizona, don't get me started. The Arizona Diamondbacks are in the World Series and they had a negative run differential this season. They scored less runs than all the other teams they played. Is Juergens playing? I don't think Juergens is playing. And Sua Opeta has been playing well. He was knocked out of the game for a little bit and came back. I think Tyler Steen was in there a little bit, and he's a beast. Not worried about our O-line at all. Only worried, I want all those guys intact when we play the 40 Whiners. Other than that, not worried we get that. Dallas has a great defense. Top 2, top 5, whatever defense. But it's going to come down to, like my boy Oscar said, turnovers. Turnovers. Gotta eliminate those. This week at least, like Jalen Hurts threw some pretty bad interceptions. He did not have a bad interception. He had a fumble on the tush push and the Gainwell fumble. We didn't have interceptions. So it's a step in the right direction. I will say that. But yeah, you think they're going to keep Brown under 125? If it's me, and I don't know how you stop it because you've seen Jalen throw it in double and triple coverage too. It doesn't matter. But if it was me, I would put my best corner would shadow A.J. Brown. I don't know if it's going to help. My best corner would shadow him. I would give him help over the top, and at times I'd put 3 people on him. I would let Goddard beat you. I would let Devontae Smith, who's had some drop issues, beat you. I would let Julio Jones, who's barely, even though he scored a touchdown, has barely played a lick of football, beat you. I would let Kenny Gainwell beat you. Nobody's scared of Kenny Gainwell. That's why everyone's so frustrated he's getting so many carries. But if I'm Dallas Cowboys, I am loading up on A.J. Brown. I'm not letting him beat you. And maybe that's what they do. But being at home, they run the ball really well. Swift with the visor. Nick did announce this week that DeAndre Swift was the number 1 and Gainwell was the number 2. But Gainwell, they love him. He did a lot in the postseason for us last year. He's He's a big part of their offense, a big part of the red zone offense. Off of one fumble, they're not just going to automatically abandon Kenneth Gainwell. People just like, stop it. Why are they doing it? First game, Kenny Gainwell came out of camp as their RB1. They ran him so much in that first game against the Patriots. I was up there. And he got banged up. And that's when the discovery of Swift happened. And Swift carried the ball more in those 4 or 5 weeks than he ever had in the entire season with the Lions last year. And people were pissed about that. They said, we're using him too much. We're using him too much. And then they went back to Kenny Gainwell. Just, why are you using Kenny? Use Swift. Gotta love the Philly fans, man. They opened the game with Boston Scott a little bit last week. I'd like to see more of that. He's a good player. He's a good little player. And if you're not going to use him, why don't you dress up Penny? Why don't you? They like Penny as a depth piece. He wasn't up for trade and nothing. Our fans are never happy. I think the answer is they're going to use all of them. Swift is new. Boston, besides when we play the Giants, Boston's never really a big part of the game plan. Kenny Gainwell knows the offense the best. He's been with the team the longest. It made sense they gave him the first crack to start the year. He was coming in, played in the playoffs, was great in the playoffs, was okay-ish in the Super Bowl. Swift will have his time. Now, it's like the Phillies in the playoffs. You know, they're not going to have DeAndre Swift only plays when he plays the Giants. They're not going to have DeAndre Swift on a pitch count when you're in the playoffs. If he's the best guy, they're going to give him the ball every single time. Now, during the regular season, you almost have to manage it. It's a long season. Like I said earlier, a third of the league this week, more than a third of the NFL. And it is still the most viewed product on television in all of sports. But over a third of the league is going to have bum backup quarterbacks. P.J. Walker, Tyson Bagnet, Zach Wilson. I mean, it's insane. Desmond Ridder was benched. Will Levis, Mitch Trubisky, Jaron Hall is starting for the Vikings. They're not signing Nick Foles. They're not signing Carson Wentz. Jaren, I've never even heard of this guy. Jaren, Jaren, Jaren Hall is starting for the Vikings. It's absolutely ridiculous. Aiden O'Connell, Taylor Heineke starting for the Falcons. The Cardinals have a guy named Clayton Tune. Clayton Tune. There's Brian, my boy B-Rash says they're throwing this season. Over a third of the league is tanking. I agree with that. But how is over a third of the league going to get Caleb Williams when he might not even come out of college? He might not even come out. Tanking for what? A whole third of the league loses every game. It's still going to be somebody picking 10th or 12th. Oh my gosh. It's insane. But they're managing this thing, getting back on track, they're managing this thing like it's a baseball season because we do see all these injuries. So no, they're not going to bench Kenny Gainwell. They'll run him in the ground. They will run Kenny, even if he stinks, they will run him in the ground before they risk getting Swift hurt or whatever. That's why I don't love this usage of A.J. Brown, although he's absolutely gigantic. They got to get back to spreading the ball around. It was almost a little too much for me, especially in like the first half when they were really struggling. It was just all him. Couple little third and 9. They got him in, misdirection and dumped it to the tight end to get a first down on an easy completion. Other than that, then they finally started. This is what the Cowboys are going to try and do. They finally started putting 2 and 3 guys on AJ Brown, and what happened? Devontae Smith makes a center field catch and walks in untouched in the end zone. So Jalen Hurts has got to be ready, and B-Rash says we got mad talent at receiver. Yeah. Let Julio cook. He was only done because he was playing with these Fugazi teams. Let me get that last ounce of Julio. That's how you get a man hurt. Let me get the Julio game. Let me get the D. Smith game. Last year it was really balanced. I think Devontae Smith ended up with one of them had more yards, one of them had more completions. I don't even know. I think Smith had more yards last year than AJ. And Swift can catch. I'm telling you, I don't know. They hate Penny. I guess they don't have room to dress him. But Boston Scott can catch the ball out of the backfield. They gotta spread the ball around. But luckily they got the bye, so do they really even care? I mean, they're relatively knock on wood. They're relatively good. They're gonna get the O-line back. Now, Jalen Carter's got a back thing, and they rotate linemen all day long. So maybe it's just something you can't avoid. Because they have a big rotation at defensive line. So guys stay fresh. Yeah, you'll see Penny a lot. Hopefully he's ready for it. I don't want him coming in ice cold, but Penny is a beast. And when it gets cold outside in December, maybe you see him run the rock. But he needs some warm-up touches, that's for sure. I don't know what's good with Jalen Carter. If anyone out there can give me an update on Jalen Carter. He's got a back issue. And the Hurts knee issue is bad. Hurts really needs the bye week. So Nick Sirianni provided a bit of somewhat encouraging news on Jalen Carter and Cam Jurgens. He left the game. Jurgens is returning from IR, so even if he doesn't play this week, you have this week, then the bye week, and then he will definitely be back after the bye because he's almost ready. But why rush him back now? I think Sua has done a good job. Carter has been outstanding this year. And he rarely discusses injuries. Even when he asked about Jalen Hurts, he said talk to Jalen, which I don't really like that. It's kind of throwing your player under the bus. Nick Sirianni barely talks about injuries, but after practice he spoke and he seemed very, very, very optimistic about Jalen Carter, which is good because a back problem, you want him getting shut down for the rest of the year for no reason. Joey says, tell me about Bradbury. Guy looks like bleep. Yeah, Joey. I don't know what they were doing. So at nickel corner, they had Sidney Brown and Eli Ricks rotating. They were mixing in at safety. Blankenship, Sidney Brown, Byard, who doesn't know the defense yet. Slay and Bradbury are kind of getting up there and long in the tooth. But, again, this is a long season. Them guys are good players. They have to pace themselves. And they're going to give you everything they got come postseason. So I think some of it is age, some of it is scheme. They're still learning the defense. They've got a lot of moving parts. That will settle in. They're going to get a lot of guys back. They got Nakobe Dean back. They were rotating those guys. They had Dean, Morrow, Cunningham all rotating. They don't know who they want to start. They got a lot of guys that are like, you could go either way. Are you going to start Ricks at nickel? Fine with it. You're going to start Sidney Brown at nickel. You're going to start Sidney Brown at safety. You're going to start... I guess they're trying to find... Sidney Brown's a talented player. I guess... I'll get to your Hurts comment in a second, too. But Sidney Brown's a talented player. They want him on the field. Eli Ricks is probably the better corner because Sidney Brown is a safety. But if you start Reed Blankenship and you start Byard, then Sidney Brown's on the bench. And he's one of their guys that they really like. Byard will be ready to go this week. He's going to be all over the place. And Jalen Hurts, when they ask him about his knee, basically all he says is, I'm here. That's what people are going to... When I go to the Eagles game and it's Sunday Night Football and I show up to work at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, people are like, oh, you must be hungover. You went to the Eagles game last night. That's going to be my answer. I'm going to say, I'm here. That's what Jalen Hurts says. Hey, how's your knee doing? Is it going to hold you back? Are you going to be able to go? I'm here. Obviously, it's not. He's playing through it. He's here. What are they doing? Draining fluid? They're not doing surgical. It's nothing surgical. I'm here. I'm here. He's got to hide it. And a week off will do him good. Bye week. But his way of play, although he's a beast and he comes back, and knock on wood, that none of the injuries are like long, like season end type. I don't even want to throw that word out there. If they start adding 16, 17, they want to cut the preseason and add 20 games. They can't because it's Dallas week, but with the bye coming up, and like I said, the next time you play Dallas is arguably the more important time than this time. Dude, if it was that serious, they'd probably give him 2 weeks off like they did at the end of the year last year. He could have went at the end of the year, and they put him back in when they needed that last game to get the bye. But he's been practicing through it. It's not like he's sitting out in practice and he's good to go for the game. He's just playing through it. He's a warrior. But man, I'm telling you that I'm biased because I'm not going this week and I'm a little butthurt, but again, it's still going to come down to December as it always does. I want him healthy in December and January, and you're not going to keep that man off this field, but with the bye week, man, if he took this week off and the bye week, maybe he'd be a new man, but maybe 1 week's enough. I don't know, but I'm excited for it. And Vic will be back next week on the show. We'll hopefully have some guests here. We'll zoom you in. But the Kelly Green game was one of the craziest regular season games. Jerseys were fresh. It was one of the craziest experiences I've ever seen. And man, dude, the Philly fans travel last week against the Commies. We've had a great couple weeks, and it's helped ease the pain for sure of the big Phillies loss. Because we should be basically playing for a parade right now. We should be playing for a parade right now. If we would have remained undefeated at home, we would have won it in 6. You would have went down to Texas. You would have split in Texas, and you would have won your 3 straight home games in Philly. And you would have been at a clincher tonight in Philly and playing for a parade. So the Eagles have eased my pain. There's so many Eagles fans at that LA game. It was crazy. I'm telling you, the internet, Philthy and Philly, all the fans of all the different pages and sports travel groups going to all these games, they have kept me going because I was down and out after the dang Phillies, but I'm back. I went today on the PHLY Sports podcast. If you don't know what that is, All City Sports Network. They're popping up in every major city. They just announced their national show today with Brian Baldinger doing football, Doug Glanville doing baseball. Their Philly roster has, oh my gosh, Jamie Lynch, Renee Washington, Zach Berman, Bo Wolf, crazy. Bill. I can't think of Bill's last name. Oh my gosh, he's married to Ava Graham. Huge Flyers team. The Cuz assembled the roster there. The Cuz was Mikey Miss was there watching. Amazing channel. They're just building their shows 24/7 sports, and I was up at their studio today in Philly. Unbelievable. And then after that, I went to Beasley Media and went to 97.5 The Fanatic, and I watched Ricky Bo and Tyrone for a little bit. So I went to Philly all day today and made my rounds as a fan, not as a media page or anything. I just was saying what's up to some of my people. Woohoo! Yeah, the Eagles have healed me. That's for damn sure. So we got a gauntlet coming up. And the Phils will be back. Especially with this new format, man. 2 years in a row, the last team in is in the World Series. Don't even kid me about the regular season. Just do what you got to do. Preserve the guys. Stay healthy. Same with the Eagles. Stay healthy. Keep winning games. Call me when the postseason starts, man. We're in a good spot as Philly sports fans. Sixers too, man. Even though they're not as sexy with all the players they got, Nick Nurse is going to get the most out of these guys, and they're deep. They're going to rotate guys. They're going to stay healthy. They're going to be a 3, 4, 5 seed. They're going to be right in the middle of the pack. Going to get in the postseason. Talk to me when the playoff starts. Other than that, all we're doing right now is just killing time, boys and girls out there. We're just killing time out there. If you're going to Eagles Dallas, hit us up. My brother will be there. And then I will be in Florida. So if you know anybody in the Sarasota area, I will be at Rafferty's in Florida for Eagles Dallas. Thanks for tuning in, my guys. This will be uploaded on our YouTube and Spotify and everywhere where you get your podcast. We'll see you next week. I appreciate it.